crossing the Quarantine River, a massive river basin that empties into the mighty Atlantic Ocean, separating Guyana on the East Berbice coast to Suriname. Welcome to my Guyana to Suriname trip. We start off at Waterloo, about an hour and a half away from Georgetown. And that was my first rest stop on a shared taxi, driving eventually to the Berbice Bridge. I'm not driving, I took a shared taxi. But you are encouraged to contemplate renting a car and probably going across the border. We do cross the mighty Berbice River until we reach Paramaribo and beyond. And here we are possibly passing Port Morant, a kind of old traditional market. The shared taxi seen here was a tight ride, but for 50 US per person, it takes you to the border point, to Moleson Creek, Guyana, and then when you are at the south bank, on the other side, meaning the start of Suriname, you then take a 2.5 to 3 hour taxi service into Paramaribo. That's what 50 US gets you. We pass a lot of rice mills, seen here Caribbean rice mill. We pass a lot of sugarcane workers, as was seen previously, and Gaisuco, the Guyana Sugar Company. So this is really rural, traditional Guyana until the scenery becomes more opulent with large hotels, and that signals that we're into Moleson Creek. But I enjoyed this drive because we passed by a lot of Sanatanist Mandirs and Anjuman Sunatul Jamaat masjids. I'm not really sure why. I think they seem to be prominent per village and represent the demographics of strong Hindu and Muslim presence in Guyana, without a doubt. And I can't help but notice even Palmyra reflects that kind of dynamic as being one of these early traditional areas that Indian immigrants settled into. So here we are at Moleson Creek, the border point, and we are crossing the borderline. Here we are at the international departure point. That's correct, that's the Quarantine River. It's 724 kilometers, and this empties into the Atlantic Ocean. Right, so this is an important border point. We are on the ferry. 20 US is what I paid for this ferry service. And in the space of about 40 minutes, we crossed not the length of the Quarantine River, but the width of the river. So we are crossing the width of the river, and this took us about 40 minutes in the journey. Right, the water was somewhat sedate. It was not tumultuous, and it was very exciting. You know, cars and maxis and buses were able to load themselves up the ramp, and so too were passengers, like that lone person looking out to Suriname. Maybe the grass is greener on the other side. I can't say. It's her perspective. But it's really interesting to know that cargo and transport vehicles come in every day using this port. And we know that there's discussion in CARICOM for a ferry service that will take people from Trinidad to Guyana and Barbados. And seeing the success of this Guyana Suriname ferry, I want to call on the authorities of CARICOM to be more fervent and back the vision of Irfan Ali of Guyana. And I now understand why he's so ambitious, along with the Bajan Prime Minister, the great Mia Motley, about this venture. So we do eventually alight, we get off the boat, and we're on our way to Paramaribo. And here we are, really at the south bank. Look at the beautiful reflection of the clouds. It takes us 3 hours into this journey. Thanks to Navin for coordinating this end of the trip. Our first driver was Krishna, and we eventually reached Limapostrat, Paramaribo, number 13, Alberga. I leave you with shots of Suriname, Paramaribo. Thank you for watching. Ciao gayo, adavars firmilenge. See you soon.